You know what time it
Time to
is.
stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon. Where the street meets the sky. The master's ignorance feeds our master's greed.
What's up, guys? Coming in at you on a Sunday afternoon. Well, is it afternoon? Yeah. It's 12:37. That's afternoon. Anyway. Oh, yeah. What's going on? How's everybody been? How's your weekend been? I'm just doing a little stuff around the house today. You know, getting caught up. Did some work on the truck yesterday, which was really cool. This isn't by any means is this any kind of technical podcast or anything like that, but the job I did on the truck yesterday was something I had never done before. It was something new, you know, so I got onto YouTube, watched a few videos, and went ahead and tackled it. Ran into some complications a little bit during the job and had to improvise a little and go get some parts and kind of make some things work, you know, and that's part of the deal. That can be part of the deal sometimes when you get into these jobs. But I pulled it off. Truck's running. Things are, the truck is back together. Things are running. And turned out really good. I'm really happy with how it turned out. And so that's a good thing. Again, that it, kind of goes into some of the stuff we talk about, getting uncomfortable, taking on challenges, take on some challenges in your life. Don't always avoid the challenges. If there's something that you think you're unsure of, fuck it, get in there, find out. Fuck around and find out. Which kind of leads me into this subject that I was thinking of today, which is this idea of the imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. And this is the idea that this kind of plays into how you feel about yourself and your worth. Maybe you feel like you're an imposter. Maybe you feel like you don't belong at the table that you've been invited to, and this can happen quite a bit. I was just thinking about this recently with this podcast. I was thinking, fuck, am I full of shit here? Am I full of shit? Am I an imposter? What, do I have any business putting this podcast out and doing this thing that I do, and started to kind of doubt. I've had some doubts about it, had some doubts about myself, feel like maybe I'm an imposter. Do I live up to these things that I'm talking about to you guys, these ideas that I'm sharing with you guys? Do I live up to these things? Fuck, am I full of shit? That's interesting. That can be a real dilemma in your life, can't it? Thinking if you're an imposter, and the honest answer to these questions is, am I full of shit? Sometimes. Yeah, I can be full of shit. Do I live up to all of the values and the ideas that I'm sharing with you here in this podcast? Not always. Am I working on these things? Every day. Every day I'm working on these things. Do I fall short? Do I make mistakes? Absolutely. We've talked about that a little bit. But am I an imposter? I don't believe so, which goes into this other idea of using the gifts that God gave us, right? And so if I sit back and I think about what are the gifts that God has given me, right? Well, God has given me the ability to use this mouthpiece of mine, right? I'm a talker. I'm a storyteller. I've always been drawn to telling stories and talking and theater class, like acting, right? I enjoy that. I enjoy acting and theater, and being a goofball, Also, he's given me courage. He's given me the courage to stand up and use my voice and not afraid to be a fool or be an idiot or take chances. And so I think like doing this podcast is a risk. I take a chance putting myself out there, take a chance using this voice of mine and sharing these ideas and putting my face on YouTube and putting my voice on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which is where you can find me. Find me on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You see, plug time. But you know what I mean? I'm not afraid to do that. I'm not afraid to put myself out there. And that's a gift that God is giving me, that has given me. That's a gift, right? He's given me this gift of curiosity to figure out the workings of the world. He gave me the gift of curiosity to figure out how to use microphones and recording equipment and want to make videos and how to do the editing and use this audio equipment. That's a gift. That's part of my curiosity, right? Part of this whole thing, right? These are the gifts that God has given me. And so if I really take a look at that and ask God for guidance and, hey, God, what are some of the tools that you have given me and the gifts that you've given me, and how can I use those to reach the world, and how can I use those to support myself and to bring myself contentment and joy and doing this podcast there it is. So am I an imposter? Am I full of shit doing this podcast? Hell no. Hell no. Now, sometimes I get a little insecure and I wonder about my worth, and other things in my life will happen and I'll start to feel insecure, and that imposter syndrome can kick in. And then I'll have to get back on my knees and say, hey, God, hey, Father, help me, remind me. Help me to know what's in my heart. And in my heart, I want to share, and I want to be out there in the world and use these gifts and connect with people and maybe be of service to you guys and help people and all of these things. And so, no, man, I'm not an imposter. And no, I'm not full of shit, because progress is the goal. Right? Progress to freedom. This idea of freedom. And we can talk about that, what I feel like freedom is. And that freedom to me is the freedom to live my life, the freedom to feel these emotions, and the freedom to understand them, and the freedom to live these emotions, and the freedom to live without any one of these emotions overwhelming me or taking over my system, right? That's the goal for me. That's my progress. That's my growth process, right? And these things take practice. And every time I get on this podcast and share with you guys, that helps. Every time I get in my journal, that helps. Every time I get on my knees, it helps. Every time I go see my therapist. Every time I go to a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous and share my voice. Every time I learn something new. Every time I open my mind and my curiosity and settle my ego down and humble myself to be open to new information and new potential and new possibilities, I allow myself to get closer to that freedom that I want. That freedom to live my life, right? And not necessarily to be happy all the time, but the freedom to not be miserable all the time. That's the goal. Freedom from absolute fucking misery. Right? Because we're going to suffer. Life is suffering, but with the right perspective, that suffering doesn't have to overwhelm you and doesn't have to leave you incapacitated to continue moving forward and to continue living life. That's the freedom, right? Freedom to continue moving forward. I just came to that just now. That's what the freedom is. Freedom to continue living my life and moving forward. Freedom to continue to be curious. Freedom to continue to have courage. Freedom to continue to share and connect. The freedom to continue to connect. Right? The freedom to not be bitter and resentful and to let those things control my life in such a way that I am stuck at home being depressed and being miserable and being fucking just ugh. Right? That's freedom. That's the freedom I'm looking for, man. That's true freedom, true spiritual freedom. I want spiritual freedom. I want my spirit to be free and out in the world. That's freedom. Absolutely, that's freedom. Man, what do you want, you know? Do you want that freedom? What do you think? What do you think about that? What are your thoughts about that? Get in those comments. Now, I say get in those comments for my YouTube video, right? This podcast is on YouTube. You can find me on YouTube, The Berg and the Abyss on YouTube. And so when I say get in those comments, that's for my YouTube followers, for my YouTube videos. I don't know. Are there comments on Spotify and Apple Podcast? I do listen to my other podcast, the podcast that I listen to them on Spotify. I don't have like the premium membership or anything like that, so I don't know. I typically don't go in for comments on Spotify. I don't use Apple Podcasts that much, very rarely. I do check in on my podcast so that I can download it so that I get some more downloads on my stats. You know, the more downloads I get, the closer to monetization I could get. And monetization would be, you know, the ultimate goal. I mean, honestly, it would be great if I was a full-time podcaster, a full-time content creator. That would be awesome, man. Imagine that. You know, imagine if you did podcasts, and imagine if that supported you and brought you a living doing this thing that I love to do. Imagine that. Wouldn't that be fantastic? God, that would be wonderful, man. Actually, not having to work under the heel of some corporation, be your own entity. Man, that's the goal, man. That's the dream. That's what I'm doing here, man. That's why I'm being consistent and coming and bringing these podcasts to you and putting them on Spotify and getting them on YouTube and engaging with you guys and just being consistent with this, you know? That's fuck yeah. Oh yeah, hell yeah. Let's do it, man. Help me. You know, share this podcast if you like it. Share it with one friend, right? Say, hey, check out the Berg and the Abyss, man. He's you know, he's pretty cool. Check him out. You check him out on YouTube. Tell them where they can find me. Help me grow this thing. You and we can do it together. You'll help me. You know, I'm also on Patreon. You can find me on Patreon, The Berg on Patreon. I started a Patreon, and you can go there and support me. And I have a little special tier you can sign up for. It's like $5 a month. $5 a month. Right now, I have the intro song to this podcast. I put that song on there, so you can hear that whole song, right? If you're interested. And I think as I move forward, I'll continue to do some special stuff. You know, I on there I put you know, patron requests. So if you're a fan and you have some requests and you want to, if you have some issues or you want me to shout you out or something like that, I can do that. We can have a conversation. Something like that. If you're interested in getting on the podcast with me, if you're following me on YouTube, get in YouTube, get in those comments and get in YouTube and see. I'm not sure how that works. I have an Instagram as well. My Instagram is private. Maybe I'll start an Instagram just for this podcast. There's a lot of shady activity out there. So that gets kind of weird, if you know me somehow and you're interested in getting on the podcast and you already know me, already a follower, reach out to me. We can talk about growth and talk about spiritual development and talk about, your journey if you want. And we can get a little vulnerable. I have a guest coming up. I'm going to have my first guest coming up here pretty soon, and I'm really excited about that. A good friend of mine, who I think we're going to talk about vulnerability, and we're going to talk about some stuff, and I'm really looking forward to that as well. This podcast may actually come out, this one that I'm recording right now may actually come out after her and I sit down and do the podcast, but I'm recording these things as they come up. I'm just recording them, and building a library of podcasts so that I can be consistent with releasing them to you guys. So am I full of shit? Hell no. I'm doing this damn thing. But I think what I question myself is am I full of shit on these principles that I talk about and these ideals I talk about? Like I missed doing my journal entry yesterday. And I was thinking, how did I do that? Because I talk about discipline, right? And really the journal, I haven't missed a day of my journal in months and months and months. I that's the first time I missed a journal. I think what happened, I know what happened is I woke up in the morning, I woke up and it was getting warm and I was like, I need to get out there and get working on the truck because it's hot as shit already and I want to get this truck situation done and over with before it's too hot. And so I got up in the morning, I went and grabbed a cup of coffee, and then I got to work on the truck. And so I remember as I was working on the truck, I even remember yesterday thinking, holy crap, I forgot to do my journal entry in the morning. I got to get in there and do my journal entry. And it was in my mind. And then interesting thing happened yesterday, which was really cool. I was working on the truck and I saw my neighbors a couple doors down and I was like, hey neighbor, how's it going? And she was like, oh, hey. She's all, hey, guess what? I was like, what's up? She's like, we're getting married today. I was like, no shit. And she goes, yeah, you want to come? I was like, come to the wedding? Yeah, sure. I mean, I've never been invited to a wedding like that, just on the spot. And so she's like, yeah, this is where it is. Check it out. And then, old boy comes out. He's like, hey, Jay, what's going on? I was like, what's up, dude? And he's like, we're getting married today. You want to come? And I was like, yeah, your fiance, she just told me. She told you where it is. I was like, she did. He's like, well, come on down, man. It starts at 5. This was at like 3 p.m. And I was like, oh, okay. I think I'll be there. Like, yeah, okay. And I thought to myself, holy cow. Went inside, and honestly, I actually had to think about it for a second. I had said yes, and I thought about it, and I hesitated for a minute, right? Maybe got a little bit of that imposter syndrome. Do I go to this wedding? I mean, they're just my neighbors. I don't know them very well. I'm not gonna know anybody. I mean, maybe some of the other neighbors would be there, and I've kind of I met her son and her son's fiance and their kids because they've been around the neighborhood. But I thought, what am I going to wear? They said it was at a park. I thought, well, it's outside. It's Arizona. It's hot. I've got like my little kind of dressy, hot, I've got some nice shorts and a button-up t-shirt and some decent shoes that could be okay for an outdoor wedding. And I thought, what the hell? Let's do this. Right? Let's get uncomfortable, man. Let's go get ourselves out there. Let's grab that courage, face that uncomfortability. So what if I don't know anybody? I know how. Damn it, name drop. I know my neighbor and I know her and they invited me. Let's do this. And so I got my gear on and I headed down to the park, and sure enough, it was a pretty casual scene. He was like a cowboy wedding. He was in his cowboy getup, and she had a pretty dress, and a bunch of folks were there, were nice and casual. And I went up to my neighbor, Mr. Neighbor. I said, "Hey, dude, I don't know where to sit." And he's all, "Hey, come over here," and put me at the table with his little grouping of some of his friends. And I met some really awesome people, had a really great time, ate some good food, ate some good cake. And in the end, he and his new wife were really stoked that I showed up. God, thanks for coming. We're so glad you came. And she even sent me a text message later. Hey, thanks for coming and sharing this special day with us. And you know what? It was awesome. It was really, really awesome, man, to go and share that experience with them. And I'm so glad that I went and did that. I'm really glad that I went. And so throughout all of that stuff that happened yesterday, I forgot to freaking get in my journal, and this morning for the first time since last November, actually, I think November 1st of 2021 was the day that I think from September something, a couple weeks before that, I had been writing every day in the journal, but it was November 1st that I got a brand new notebook, opened that up and wrote in there November 1st, 2021. And from that day forward, for sure, it's been every day since. Couple of notebooks I've filled, several pens I've emptied, but yesterday was the first day since November 1st that I haven't journaled, haven't made an entry in my journal. Wow. And so I could beat myself up, right? Am I full of shit with my discipline? You guys let me know what you think. Am I full of shit? And here's my card today. This is the card that I wrote down. Am I full of shit? Am I an imposter? Using the gifts that God gave us. And so I think I am using these gifts. I just got down on my knees and prayed for God to help my podcast. Hey God, help me grow this podcast. Help me to believe in myself. Help me to continue using this gift that you gave me, my curiosity and my courage to put myself out there, and this gift of gab that I have, and this ability, this voice of mine. Help me to get this voice out there and to sit on the throne of my heart and know my heart, and help guide me to use these words to share my experience. And that's really what this is about, is me sharing my experience with you, and I hope you guys don't think I'm full of shit, and that's kind of me being, I hope so. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. I hope that you gain something from it as well. And I hope that's the case. In the imposter syndrome. Am I a fucking imposter? Oh. It happens to us all. It can happen to us all. It can really happen to us all. Using the gifts. Right? I did that yesterday. Courage is a gift that God has given me. Right? Courage is a gift. And this gift of gab helped me yesterday, right? And being outgoing, right? Went and sat down at this wedding and just started shooting the shit, started using, telling stories, I would say break out the moonshine, start telling lies and calling up the women, but there ain't no moonshine for me anymore. But there's some sparkling cider and some sugary drinks that get that sugar high going and start chatting up with some folks. I felt like a wedding crasher, to be honest with you. I sat down next to this couple and I was like, I feel like a wedding crasher. I was like, what do you think, man? You think any of these girls here? And actually the dude and his wife, and the wife was like, she started looking around like, well, how about that? I was like, are you really trying to help me hook up? And she's laughing. We had a good time. We had a good time, man. That was really cool. This couple was, his name was Chris and her name was Crystal. Chris and Crystal. Like, no shit. How did you guys meet? Plenty of Fish. No shit. You guys met on Plenty of Fish. Man, wow. 8 years they've been together they met on Plenty of Fish. I said to him straight up, I said, you know what? You guys are the first Plenty of Fish success story that I've seen. She had a ring on. They're engaged. They're going to get married next year. And I thought, wow. I thought that was really cool, man. Plenty of Fish. I hadn't thought about Plenty of Fish in years, man. That's crazy. Plenty of Fish. Good for them. Good for them. Really, really good for them. So, yeah. Good. That was a good Saturday. Good Saturday afternoon. Good Saturday evening. Got the work on the truck done. Got to go out to a wedding. It was really cool, man. Really cool. Forgot the freaking journal entry. Yep. So today's Sunday, and I wanted to talk about this. You feel like you're an imposter sometimes? Let me know. You feel like you're full of shit sometimes? You might be. You could be. Sometimes we are full of shit. Sometimes I'm full of shit, man. I don't always live up to these ideals but I'm working on them. I'm working on them every day. I work on them. I work on paying closer attention to how I'm feeling and how I'm feeling, right? When situations are starting to build, how does that make me feel physically? Pay attention to that. If you're starting to get angry, how does that feel physically? Where does that show up in your body? How does frustration feel? Think about it. Maybe even get out there and think about something that makes you angry. Think about it. Can you think of something that makes you angry? Is it something that you might be able to go find right now, right? And practice it. Like, oh, that thing will frustrate. If I go do that thing, it's going to frustrate me. Let me go do that thing with the intention of seeing what it feels like, what frustration feels like in the body, right? So go get into that. Oh, what really frustrates me is when I unwind the cord off of the vacuum. God, for some reason that just bugs me. So go get the vacuum out and go unwind that cord. But in your mind, go with the intention of figuring it out, what it feels like in your body. Get your journal ready and go start unwrapping that cord and go, oh, I'm feeling it in my chest. Oh, I'm feeling my palms. I'm feeling my heart rate, right? And then write it in your journal. Oh, I felt this. I felt that. These were the thoughts going through my head as I did it, right? And then wrap that cord back up and then do it again, right? And then see if you can switch it, right? You know what? I'm going to go get out that vacuum and I'm going to unwrap that cord, but I'm not going to get frustrated this time. I'm going to shift my perspective into I accept this challenge and it's not going to overwhelm me. I'm not going to get angry or frustrated. And then practice that. Unwrap that cord and maybe add a different thought in your head. You know what? I love unwrapping this cord. I'm so grateful for having this vacuum in my house to help me keep my house clean. Right? So shift in perspective, right? practice, right? And then, I'm not full of shit. I'm practicing these things. I'm not full of shit, and I'm worthy of change and I'm worthy of growth, right? All of these things are interesting things. So get in there, practice, get in your journal. Don't be full of shit. Progress, not perfection, is what we're going for. Using the gifts that God gave us. Peace. I love you guys.
You know what time it is. Time to stand up and speak your mind. In this elitist jungle, keep the beats alive. Whether yoga or doja that keeps you high. Gotta stay up, cause on the street you die. Time to wake up and see the light. Stop counting sheep, seize your life. Free your eyes and see suns rise on the horizon. Where the street meets the sky. The masses